has come to reclaim our world. Welcome back, Commander.
Incoming transmission.
Day 19, Strategy, Strategic Rewards. So strategic rewards are the goodies you get from the strategy layer. I include the mission rewards from tactical missions, as you pick and chose a tactical mission based on the rewards you're going to get from the strategy layer. So what are these rewards? You're going to get engineers, scientists, and soldiers. You're going to get personnel is one category. You're going to get supplies and intel. Those are your primary resources to expend XCOM's influence across the globe and to research new technologies and improve your tactical game as well as your strategic game. And on the other side of things, you're going to counter dark events. You're going to receive council approval at the end of the month. I don't know, that might just be pleasant words, but it's always nice to hear. You're going to gain soldier experience for all your surviving soldiers, especially for those that score numerous kills. You're going to get to use the tactical loot that those soldiers acquired during their foray into enemy territory, some of which, like Elerium cores and intel caches, can be expended in the strategic layer to either improve your tactical game by giving you new armor and weapon and ammunition types for the cores, and the intel caches can be researched to give you additional bursts of intel resource, which is pretty awesome. And I really like the idea of these kind of one-off opportunistic researches that don't forward the plot or your tactical or strategic game except by giving you resources. I think that's a really cool idea. And lastly, you're going to expend time as you move around the map, go on these resources, and scan for various things, which will further your progress, as well as furthering the aliens' progress. But of course, your progress simply has to outmatch the aliens for you to win the game. So those are all the possible rewards. Let's talk in a little depth about what each one is worth and how you might prioritize. From watching people play the game, I believe that engineers are kind of your number one priority. You use those to clear out rooms on the Avenger. The rooms are not only worth supplies and alien alloys and all sorts of good stuff when you complete that clearing out, but then you can build additional facilities for yourself, and numerous rooms in the Avenger can supply you with power. And it's very important to clear these so that you can then put up more facilities. And engineers are really important, not just for clearing those rooms, but also for staffing them. So I imagine that having at least 2 or 3 engineers is like the minimum, and you want to get that quite quickly. Having maybe around 5 or 6 is a nice moderate amount for the early to mid game. And by the end, you want maybe, I don't know, probably a dozen is a premium number of engineers where you might be overdoing it, but who knows. Scientists are probably your second most highly prioritized personnel. Your first scientist is a really, really big bonus as they increase your research speed by 33%. The second one is also pretty huge as they increase it by 25%, and presumably diminishing returns means that additional scientists are quite nice, but not required early in the game. Once you build a laboratory, I believe you can then staff scientists into the laboratory to get even bigger bonuses on top of those. But early game scientists, your first 1 or 2 scientists, getting 2 to 3 scientists is a pretty high priority, and if you have the opportunity, go for it. But if you could get an engineer first, until you have those 2 to 3 engineers, I would favor them over scientists when it came to rewards. Lastly, there are soldiers. I think you're going to want by the end game about 24 soldiers. I would suggest having 3 different squads of 6, and maybe a whole 6 rookies on hand would be a generous barracks supply for the vanilla XCOM experience in a moderate to hard difficulty. So you definitely want to grab rookies while you can. if there's nothing else going on. And maybe the best time to do so is early game. I don't know. There's probably a lot more to do late game, and rookies never really seem like what you're going to want. But if you can't get engineers and scientists, you know, a couple rookies wouldn't hurt. And then when it comes to the strategic resources, supplies, and intel, you're going to want as much as you can possibly get. So squeeze that in whenever you possibly can. Except for maybe... So the scanning bonuses for XCOM HQ. The way these work are when you have nothing else to do, you can go back to home base and you can scan there for as long as you feel like. Like, there is no definite end to that scanning session. Unlike other places where it'll be like scan for 7 days, get your reward. When you're scanning at base, you can do so. It's what you want to use this for, because the scanning bonus can be adjusted to suit your circumstances. At first, I think it's relatively... They give you relatively basic choices, like scan to gain intel. That's important if you have just a little too low of a intel to take over a new territory, and you just need to top it up a little bit. You can change it to, at the cost of some supplies, 25 supplies, so a relatively low number. You can swap it around to help you construct faster inside the Avenger. Or you can swap it so that it can help return your soldiers from wounded to combat ready more quickly. So consider those when there's not much else to do, or when you are in desperate need of a very specific thing. Scanning at HQ might be worth it. Otherwise, you're going to get more use out of your time from flying around the strategic map and crushing other objectives. Finally, remember that you should always attempt to make the best use of your time. If there are a lot of missions close together, take those, grab all those rewards, and then head back. And, you know, sometimes you start off in an area going for one thing, but something more important pops up. Remember that you can always quit doing whatever you're doing and come back, or that it might not even be worth it ever. Just drop it and head towards the highest priority thing, because if you can't change your mind, eventually XCOM will make you pay.
Incoming transmission.
Day 19, Tactics When the Dust Settles. So you've gone on a mission and you're looking at the debrief screen, and it's telling you that you killed exactly 0.1 alien per turn. You spent no time in heavy cover whatsoever, and that one of your soldiers was a hero, but unfortunately he's dead. What you want at the end of a mission, you have to think about during the mission. Now, the statistics it throws up are nice. They don't necessarily mean anything about how effective or how skilled your tactics were. I think having a really high shot percent chance is, or hit percent chance, is a good indicator that you're a good player, but plenty of good players will throw shots when it is the right time to throw shots. The things that are really important at the end of the mission are who was wounded, who's dead, who got promotions, who did you recruit, did you protect your VIPs, or did you kill the enemy VIPs, and what bonus objectives were completed, as well as some of the negative things you can encounter, like who died. What objectives did you fail? Did you earn council disapproval, if that's worth anything? Did you lose a territory because it was a retaliation mission? Did you lose the chance at an engineer or a scientist or a recruit you needed because you lost the mission? And did you lose the game because it was a base defense? I suggest you work really hard to prevent even the smallest wounds. This is something that was emphasized in Long War, and I think the XCOM designers took a long, hard look at that and said that is a great mechanic, because on Legendary, when Christopher Odd had one of his soldiers fall to 1 hit point during the mission, they were out wounded for 43 days, which is very Long War-esque. So, on the harder difficulties, expect wound times to be a long, long time, taking your really good soldier away from you. The ways to prevent that are to use guaranteed hits, fight dirty, destroy their cover, always be in high cover. Low cover is not good enough. Use smoke grenades, and in general just be a total bastard when it comes to fighting the enemy, because you need every single advantage you can get. Overwatch traps, the works. As well as to simply don't end the turn with an enemy able to see you and shoot. That's like Beagle Rush's rule. He will throw a grenade to kill that last Advent soldier instead of letting it take a shot. Anything to avoid letting the enemy shoot at all is how you win the higher level difficulties. Now, you can't always do that, but when you can, expend almost any resource to prevent them from shooting back at you. It depends on how many aliens you expect to fight. In Long War, there are so many aliens you kind of couldn't do that all the time. But from what I've seen of Legendary XCOM 2, there aren't that many enemies, so feel free to use up your limited use abilities on most missions, because I don't know, I've only seen like, 9 to 12 enemies per mission. In Long War, you could expect up to like 55 on the biggest missions, and it was easy to have like 20 to 30 enemies. And so you really had to make perfect use of your grenades if you wanted them to last, and to get a lot of bang out of them. But now, I don't know. If you're not playing with a Long War mod, go ahead and use everything you got as fast as you got, just to ensure that nothing gets a shot on you. For promotions, you want to spread the kills out. When you see that earned a promotion little pop-up over a soldier after a kill, then try to give kills to other characters, because promotions are instant power jumps between one mission and the next. And if you're just like 3 XP away from that promotion, then it doesn't matter. You still don't have it. You're still 1 rank behind. So do try and spread the kills around to people who you either want to promote or people who haven't been promoted that mission already. VIPs, protected, slaughtered. If you have to protect a VIP, always move them last. And if you haven't moved anyone else that turn, you have to be extremely vigilant there are no enemies on Overwatch. I would go so far as to say, as a rule of thumb, if you haven't moved anyone, don't move the VIP. But if there are no enemies on screen, it is safe, of course, to move the VIP. Keep him in the back, far away. In XCOM 2012, aliens couldn't miss the VIP. I don't know if you knew this. I didn't know it for the longest time, but aliens had a 100% chance to hit the VIPs, even though they could hunger for no apparent reason. And since they had like 3 health, it was pretty much a guaranteed kill no matter what. So don't let aliens even see the VIP if you can help it. I'm not sure if that's true for XCOM 2. It seems like a pretty cheap mechanic, and I assume they wouldn't do that in XCOM 2. There's plenty of other stuff like time pressure they put on you. But just keep that VIP as far away from aliens as possible, glued to the side of the map that your squad is protecting, and until you absolutely have to bring them out. It is nice to note that you can take the VIP to the extraction zone and extract them immediately. You do not have to like get all of your soldiers into the extraction zone before you pull them out. So you can just, if you can get the VIP to the extraction zone safely, just do it, and then you can fight without having to worry about him for the rest of the time you're there. Lastly, bonus objectives. We haven't seen any of these in the preview rewards, but we did hear that XCOM 2 is going to provide randomly generated bonus objectives across various maps. I think this was above and beyond the loot drops of aliens, but maybe I'm wrong. Those you're going to want to complete as many as you can while trying to avoid all of the previously mentioned things like people getting wounded, soldiers not getting promoted, and VIPs dying. Also, I'm really interested in seeing what what VIP assassination missions are like, but I guess I will have to wait until I see more preview content. So that's it. Work hard not to have wounded soldiers. You will thank yourself for it every time you go on.
Transmission.
Day 19, Disposition, surprises. Surprises are going to happen in this game all the time. XCOM has always been an kind of exploratory experience. Even in the Long War mod, where the exploration was generally bad and deadly, you find that things that you never expected could happen suddenly will be happening, and you have to deal with it. So having the proper mindset when it comes to unexpected occurrences is kind of important, lest it throw you off your game and it cost you dearly in poor decisions. I suggest in the tactical game especially to be a little cautious so that when you are surprised you can still react to it with some degree of effectiveness. So the best ways to play cautiously are to reserve your limited use abilities whenever possible. And I don't mean just grenades and medikits, things that you will run out of, but also your cooldowns. Consider very carefully when you're going to blow your incredibly long cooldown abilities. And in some circumstances, when you're incredibly hard pressed, you might even be careful about your really low cooldown abilities, like your lightning hands, free shot, because you can't use that for 2 turns, I think, after you've used it once. So you can only use it every 3rd turn. Let's see. Yeah, so that might actually be important at some point in the incredibly near future when the game is really hard. So think carefully before using someone. My rule of thumb is always use it when it's going to be most effective. If it's the perfect time to use that Null Lance or one of your like collateral damage abilities, like one of those big zone affecting attacks, you've got everyone lined up, do not hesitate to use it, because you're never going to get a better chance to use that ability than it's the perfect time. Unless somehow you're sacrificing your soldiers or a significant degree of safety just to use it. So just go ahead, feel free. It doesn't matter what the cooldown is, it doesn't matter if you can't use it again. If you got the most bang for the buck you could get out of it, that was probably the best use. Or if it's just an okay time to use it, don't. That's playing it cautiously. If you're like, you know what, it would make it really easy to, it might take me 2 or 3 turns to kill this muton of like suppression and hollow targeting and taking shots. If I want to play it safe, or I could just use my 1 grenade, it's not the best time to use that grenade. Just save it. Just suck it up and waste the ammo, waste your time, unless you really have to get a move on. And like, consider alternatives. You're like, well, I don't want to spend my grenade, but I could flank. And like, oh, my ranger could run in there. It's the last enemy I can see. He might trigger another pod, but my Psy Operative has Inspire, so we can get him out of there. And if he gets the kill, then my ranger actually has the ability to like gain an extra move and pull back. So just try and play conservatively with your abilities, but when it's time to use it, feel free, go ahead, let loose all barrels, because if it is the best possible moment for a skill, then don't waste it. Don't be too conservative. Let loose the grenades of war. I suggest a good way to preserve your strength tactically is to advance as cautiously as possible. Take a lesson from the XCOM 2012 AI, which almost never ever sprinted. Don't sprint. You can cover the exact same distance with a double move as a sprint most of the time. And the double move gives you the ability to go rut-row and pull back, whereas the sprint really commits you to a position that's probably pretty far from where your current safety is. So unless you know exactly what's going on, or you absolutely have to, like maybe it's a running gun or a dash and slash, then don't do it. Don't ever sprint. You probably gain a resistance to Overwatch. If you have to run Overwatch, then sprinting is almost certainly the best thing to do. Now, I haven't heard this mechanic confirmed for XCOM 2, but it was pretty integral to XCOM 2012 playthroughs, so I would definitely consider figuring out if sprinting works well against Overwatch, and only using it for that, because otherwise there's no real reason to sprint unless you've covered all this ground already, or yeah, you can just cover the same ground much more safely by taking 2 separate moves, because it lets you react in the middle and it doesn't commit you all the way. Lastly, avoid enemy area of effect attacks. These are the worst. The predictable area of effect attacks, like the Sectopod main cannon or the Archon's like pinion flares or whatever, those aren't so bad, because you can just pull your whole squad out and let those things nuke wherever they were standing. But enemies who have off-the-cuff, ad hoc, instant AoE effects, like the micro missiles of the mechs or the grenades of the mutons, or the gatekeepers' crazy Psyburst bullshit, that is absolutely what you want to avoid as much as possible. Those are the worst things ever, and they can put multiple units of yours in the hospital, which is the opposite of being prepared for surprises on the tactical map. On the strategic side, expect to be surprised by where the aliens throw up their black sites and have to actually spend a lot of resources moving towards them, so that you can strike at them, because they are your only hope of preventing the Avatar project from completing, and you need to crush them as quickly and often as possible. So be prepared to drop whatever your plans are and make a beeline for those bastards so that you can knock them down. Lastly, I'd like to say that your soldiers are going to die. Some of your soldiers are going to go down in Ironman mode, and you're going to face the decision whether to rage quit or to keep going. And the answer should be keep going, I think. It's one soldier, you know, it doesn't take that many missions to level up your soldiers. You have a lot of soldiers. Try and cycle your soldiers out so that you actually do have a decent roster of soldiers, lest you lose your only decently leveled specialist. That can be incredibly painful. So try and keep like an A, B, and C team, you know, out there. It can be incredibly devastating to lose a soldier when you only have 5 or 6 good soldiers. So try really hard to cycle your soldiers out and get a good 12 to 18 skilled soldiers. In Long War, and as presumably in the mods to come, you're gonna need like 40 skilled soldiers, but that's not everyone's experience. Anyway, do that. Have a nice roster, and then the individual losses won't hurt quite so bad. Alright friends, that's it for day 19. If you enjoyed this content, please go ahead and like this video. If you'd like to see the next Advent Calendar video as soon as it comes out, please subscribe to my channel. Tomorrow we'll be talking about initial research, arms and armors, and finishing them. Don't let the aliens survive.